PLUSH selling, P-L-U-S-H. There are 5 principles behind a successful value-added sale. In this module, we're going to be looking at the L, listen, and we're going to look at 3 distinct questioning processes. In this module, you will learn how to introduce a third party, you will learn the $75,000 question, and you will learn Jeopardy selling. Let's remember, the human mind cannot not respond to a question, so whoever is asking the questions is controlling the sales call. Sometimes when we ask a customer a question, we're engaging their mind at the conscious and subconscious level. They'll be reluctant to answer our question for a number of reasons. One of the reasons we want to focus on is our relationship with our customer. Relationship selling is a redundant term. All selling is relationship selling. In most scenarios, our relationships with our customers are 95% professional and 5% personal. That's typical. But every once in a while, we build an affinity with the customer. And when that happens, we can actually have a stronger personal relationship than the personal relationship, which means if they change jobs, if they retire, if we move on to something else, we're still going to be friends with them. When that happens, is the channel of communication better or worse than it used to be? It is actually worse. They won't tell us the bad news. We tend to protect the predominant relationship. We tend to protect the predominant relationship. So when the personal relationship is stronger than the professional relationship, we'll begin to hedge our answers. We won't be as open. We won't be as blunt. How do we get around that? We use the third party approach. Introduce a third party. So instead of asking your customer, how are we doing? You introduce a third party. Customer, how do others in your organization say that we are doing? What's the competition saying about us? What are your neighbors saying about us? We introduce a third party. Watch what happens psychologically when we introduce a third party. We free the customer up to talk. It's no longer their words, supposedly. It's this third party words. They may even start their answer with, well, this is not me, but what I have heard is. Whenever we introduce a third party and the customer answers, we're getting it straight from the horse's mouth. If they didn't believe it, they wouldn't repeat it, and they probably haven't talked to anybody else anyway. I need for my customer to be as open, as honest, as blunt as possible with me. I want to retain them as an account. I want to be their best vendor. If I'm already their best friend, I also want to be their best vendor. The only way I can do that is for them to feel free to tell me what I am doing wrong or what I could be doing better or what they perceive the competition is better at doing than I am. That's why we introduced the third party. The next one is called the $75,000 question. The $75,000 question got its name because I used one question one year to generate $75,000 in consulting fees. I still get letters on this. It is a powerful tool. It's something that you're going to have difficulty saying. If you've been in sales 5 years or more, you're going to have these 3 words that are going to have a hard time coming out of your mouth. I suggest you write them down and read them to the customer. Now here's the question. This will open all kinds of doors for you. The first 3 words of the question are, I don't know. Why can't salespeople say those 3 words? We don't want to say, I don't know, because we've been taught if the customer asks a question, we should have the answer. We believe that we're the authority, we're the expert on what we are selling, so we should never use the phrase, I don't know. By the way, I also do not like using I don't know, but I will find out. So instead, how do we come up with a question building off of the 3 words, I don't know? Here's the full question. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What thoughts have you had about that? Before I give you my input, what ideas have you had? You see, we're putting the ball on their side of the court. Yes, we are answering a question with a question. Did your mother teach you it's not polite to answer a question with a question? Okay, was your mom in sales? It's okay to answer a question with a question. I don't know, what do you think? The reason this works is it causes the customer to do a couple of things. One is to let us know what they are thinking about this. Number two, to make sure we are answering the right question. All too often, the customer will ask us a question, we run it through our own filter, and we think they're asking B when in fact they're asking A. I don't know, what do you think? And it causes the customer to re-engage. It causes the customer to give us greater clarity on what they are looking for. So we have introducing a third party, we have the $75,000 question, and then we have Jeopardy selling. How do they play the game show Jeopardy? Phrase everything in the form of a question. Try to do an entire sales call with nothing but questions. This is very difficult. And in fact, with practice, you'll find yourself taking more and more control of the conversation with the customer by using questions rather than using statements. Remember, the human mind cannot not respond to a question. Rather than answering a question, why don't we ask a question to keep the customer's mind engaged? Practice this. An exercise that I use in my training classes is have people pair off and talk about the weather outside using nothing but questions. 2 or 3 rounds, that's typically the end of it. However, with pre-call planning is essential. With pre-call planning, you can come up with ways of phrasing everything in the form of a question. So if the customer says, does it come in blue? And it doesn't come in blue, what are you going to say? Nope. Or could you say, why is blue important for you? What is it about blue that you prefer? If I could provide it in blue, could we move forward right now? You're asking questions to keep the customer's mind engaged. I had my attorney check the Georgia statutes and the federal statutes. Nowhere does it say if a customer asks you a question, you got to answer it. Instead, ask a question rather than answering the question and stay in control of the sales call. So in summary, we looked at 3 questioning approaches in this module. One is to introduce a third party so we can free up the customer to tell us what they are really thinking, especially when we have a strong personal relationship with the customer. We looked at the $75,000 question. I don't know, what do you think? You're not required to answer the question. Put the ball back on their side of the court. Let's see what else we can learn even as the customer answers the question. And then Jeopardy selling. Use questions as often as you can. In the history of recorded time, no customer has ever said your price is too high and meant it. Teach others.